everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is AMC production manager, Dennis Zen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of AMC Movie Talk. In this episode, we're going to talk about bars that don't let you in with printed T-shirts.
Also, here's writer-director John Schnepp.
Hey, look, a couple of times ago, I went to this crazy bar called Stony McMuffins, and they wouldn't let me in because I had a weird, twisty mustache, and I said, give me some of that sugar water.
What? And also AMC's Mark Ellis. Yeah, what are you going to even say?
I don't know what the hell that was, but I wouldn't let you into my bar. Talk like that, twisting your evil mustache.
All right, the first full trailer for the Peanuts movie was released yesterday. The film is being directed by Steve Martino and is based on the popular and beloved Charles M. Schulz comic strip that began in the 1940s and at its peak reached 2,600 newspapers and had a readership of 355 million in 75 countries. An official breakdown of the upcoming film was also released. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Lucy, Linus, and the rest of the beloved Peanuts gang make their big screen debut like they've never been seen before in state-of-the-art 3D animation. Snoopy, the world's most lovable beagle and flying ace, embarks upon his greatest mission as he takes to the skies to pursue his arch nemesis, the Red Baron, while his best pal, Charlie Brown, begins his own epic quest. From the imagination of Charles M. Schulz and the creators of the Ice Age films, the Peanuts movie will prove that every underdog has his day. The Peanuts movie comes out this November 6th in AMC theaters everywhere. Dennis, what are your thoughts on the trailer?
I absolutely loved it. It captures the charm and feel of the original Peanuts comic strips and cartoons. I love the look of it too, because it is 3D, but it has a 2D, almost stop motion look to it. And I like that they didn't modernize it. Like we've seen all these like Alvin and the Chipmunks and Smurfs and all that crap that like, they're like booty dancing to pop music.
Right.
And this stuff, at least so far from the trailer, doesn't look like they're doing that. And they're not, referencing any like technology, like they're not coming on cell phones or hopping on the internet or anything like that. And the fact that it uses the Who's Baba O'Reilly in the trailer also scores points for me. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I've always loved Snoopy and the Charlie Brown, all the animated shorts. I used to read the cartoons and those collected editions. And this movie trailer captures that look, Charles Schultz's actual look of the characters without ruining it. Like I always thought like 3D it could ruin it if you had too much fluid movement, but I think they really did a somewhere in between really faithful adaptation of capturing the 2D world of the artwork but making it fully 3D. And it just feels like they captured all the characters. I absolutely love the trailer, and I cannot wait to see this film.
Mark?
I like Charlie Brown. I like The Who. I hated the fact that they used that song in the trailer. It took me so out of place from the world of Peanuts, hearing The Who rock out while you're seeing these kids. It just didn't make any sense. And I agree with you. I hate when you have these characters do pop songs. The Snoopy thing at the end when he's dancing, that totally took me out of the trailer. And I hope that the movie isn't that vibe. I hope that's just an isolated scene or something to maybe try to trick people into the theater, like little kids who want to see Snoopy dance. Everything else about this trailer, I was a big fan of. Like you guys said, the animation is brilliant. The way that it looks 3D, but it also gives you that old school Peanuts feel. The premise looks fun. It's Charlie Brown. He might meet a girl. Is he going to get the girl? Is he going to get to hold hands at the end of this thing? We don't know. Snoopy looks like great comic relief, that end scene aside, and the way that Pigpen looks. I was waiting in this trailer to see how they were going to do Pigpen. I want a whole Pigpen movie. I want this to do well just so I can see that smelly kid walk around with that brown cloud of crap following him everywhere.
Brown cloud.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still excited about the movie. I just didn't like the trailer at all.
Oh, really? Well, in terms of the song, even though I did like the song, I don't think any of those songs are going to be in the movie.
Right.
It's just for the trailer itself. And so
I'm sure it's going to be dun-na-na-dun-na-na-dun-na, like the minute the movie starts.
It just felt like I've never seen Peanuts do anything with rock or pop music at all, so it just felt like it was just out of place.
Well, I'll say the out of place thing for me was when they had that school bus scene and there was like a rap song came in. It's like, yo, give me that money, son. What's happening with the jingle, jangle, jingle, bingle, bingles? And I was like, what is going on? And then it went back to the Eminence Front. It's a put on or whatever that Who song was. It was like,
it was not Eminence Front. I would have hated the trailer even more if it was Eminence Front.
It felt like it was at the beginning. That ding, so whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to criticize the music like Ellis, really strangely. It's a Peanuts movie. Come on, guys.
Yeah, which is why you shouldn't have the Who in there.
Well, you know what? I don't know.
But I feel like they captured the characters from the little bit that we saw.
I felt like, but aside from the music that Ellis hated,
Yeah.
I think the trailer was awesome.
And then even just the lines in it, just hearing Lucy say, "You blockhead," like I'm just
Totally.
laughing, and it just feels like they actually understand what they're adapting versus some of the other stuff we've seen before.
Yeah, and every scene that they show Charlie Brown, he's fumbling and being a loser and a waste.
And I like that they're in school too, because
Totally.
I'm excited to hear the teachers with that wah 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 wah. That's got to come
Maybe
back.
they got to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Sinead,
Totally.
did you watch the trailer at all?
I didn't.
Oh, are you excited for a
Yes,
Peanuts
I'm
trailer?
so excited. Yeah, no, now I'm even more excited.
Do you like the Who? I like the Who, by the
They
way.
don't bug me.
I'm a big fan of the band. I just didn't like if you could add Van
Doesn't
Halen in
really
this
seem
trailer,
like it.
and I would have been like, it's out of place. I like the Peanuts.
Feels
I
like he
the
doesn't
Who.
like Pete Townsend. That's
Not
what
together.
I know he likes Journey, but I'm not sure about.
How could you tell?
All right, what's next?
Based on press releases from Marvel, Captain America Civil War will feature plenty of superheroes and other characters from previous Marvel movies and a few new ones as well. However, two notable absences are Thor and the Hulk. Now that list of missing superheroes may be down to just one. In a recent interview with HitFix, Mark Ruffalo, who plays the Hulk, said the following. If Robert Downey Jr. says, I'm in Captain America, I'm in Captain America, damn it, and I will wait for the day that my call sheet shows up in my doorstep or my script. At this point, I'm told that I'm in it by Robert, which I'll take as biblical, but I just haven't heard or seen from production yet. Captain America Civil War is set for release on May 6th, 2016. Schnepp, what's your take on Ruffalo's quote?
I think Ruffalo's just hanging back, like we were talking about earlier. He's just like, yo, what am I doing next? Am I gonna? Oh, do I have to be in Civil War? Awesome. I think he wants to be. Everyone is in Civil War, and we were talking about this yesterday. Thunderbolt Ross is in it. I mean, it's sort of like everyone's in it except for either Banner and the Hulk. So I would imagine that Banner will be in there for a scene, and the Hulk will show up, and it'd be great. We were talking, maybe the Red Hulk's gonna fight the Green Hulk. Who knows? It's already got everyone in it, so.
Mark?
Yeah, this seems like confirmation that the Hulk will not have a big part in Civil War. I mean,
right.
if it comes out next year and Ruffalo doesn't even know officially whether he's in the movie or not, that means that the Hulk won't figure prominently in. Now, is he still going to be in the film? And if he's in the film, is he going to be on one side or the other is my question. I didn't read the comic Civil War. Right. It's such a fascinating premise to me. They have all these superheroes going against each other. And you would think that whoever's side gets the Hulk manages to get Banner on their team is going to be the odds-on favorite, because we saw what the Hulk can do, especially if the Hulk and Tony Stark continue their relationship. Then you have the Hulkbuster and you have the Hulk, except they're not fighting each other. They're going against whatever team Cap can put together. So it seems and what a great life Mark Ruffalo has, by the way, where you just get to chill in your apartment, do whatever you do, wait for a script to show up. He's not going to be in it that much. I think that him and Thor are going to be in some capacity. They might just show up for a scene or two. So I wouldn't, if you're a fan of the Hulk, I wouldn't look at this as being the Hulk's movie. That might be Infinity War 1 or 2, but he's going to be in it.
Yeah, but what about Thunderbolt Ross? He's with the military. He's part of the whole thing that made Captain America. I could see Thunderbolt Ross being on Captain America's side and then turning into the Red Hulk.
Well, I read the comics, and if I remember correctly, the Hulk isn't in the storyline at all. So I don't know. Maybe in the movie version, he comes in at the end, tells everyone, both sides, we've got to have peace, and then they sit down and sing Kumbaya next to a campfire. I don't know. But I mean, it's one of those things where we want to see him in this movie.
Right.
I don't know if we have to have him in the movie, but I'd like it. And like you said before, if he doesn't know yet, and if he is in it, it's going to be a very small part.
It's not going to figure prominently in the storyline. My question to you guys is, would you be disappointed if Ruffalo's in this as Banner? Like when he popped in at the end in the Easter egg in Iron Man 3, I think it was.
Spoilers.
He's just laying on the couch, or Tony Stark's laying on his couch, and they're talking to each other, but you don't get to see the Hulk. You just get to see Ruffalo as Banner. Is that even worth putting in there, or do you think fans are going to be so disappointed that they got one dude, but they didn't get the dude that guy turns into, the big green guy that we all love?
I think in a movie called Civil War, yeah, it would be disappointing, because it's supposed to be a big battle between all the superheroes, and if he's not the Hulk in it, then it's kind of a disappointment.
There's also, the idea that you just have Thor and Banner just like, look, I don't want any part of this Civil War thing.
Right.
You guys sort out your differences. I'll be up on Asgard. I'll be in Antarctica doing research, and call me when it's done.
What if they just show Banner? I'll see you guys later. Gets in a weird spacecraft and flies into Planet Hulk.
Planet Hulk!
Like it's, for no reason.
In the comic books, the X-Men fit that role. They're the neutral party in the storyline, but since Marvel doesn't own that rights anyways, it doesn't really matter. All right, now onto our buy or sell segment. Sinead, what do we got?
Sony has greenlit the movie Passengers, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt. The Imitation Game director Morton Tildum will helm the upcoming sci-fi drama that was penned by Prometheus screenwriter John Spates. The film is about a man, played by Chris Pratt, that is on a colony ship when he accidentally awakens early from cryogenic sleep amongst thousands of other passengers on a decades-long journey. In order to avoid being alone for such a long period of time, he awakens another passenger, played by Jennifer Lawrence, to keep him company. Mark, do you buy or sell the sounds of Passengers?
Well, Sinead, you're not giving me a lot to go on there with
sorry.
that premise. I don't even know what kind of movie this is going to be. Obviously, there's this science fiction element, but is it going to be a romance? Is it going to be a comedy, a drama, an action film? We got to get back to sleep before it's too late. It doesn't sound all that bad. If everybody else is snoozing for another 10 years and it's just me and Jennifer Lawrence on a spaceship together, I like my odds in that particular situation. With Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence on board, I'm totally in for this movie. Whatever they decide to do, I believe in their choices enough recently to say, yeah, this sounds like a good idea. Plus, if you have somebody from Prometheus and somebody from The Imitation Game helming this film, it sounds like a winner to me.
I tentatively buy it. I don't know that much about it either. But it's funny how when you star in the biggest box office opening weekend of all time, suddenly your movie that you were attached to gets greenlit right away.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to stretch this story out into a whole movie. I mean, after Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence are done playing patty cake, what else are they going to do? And I read that it's budgeted at $120 million. So obviously there's going to be more to it than them just sitting around talking to each other. But I don't know what it is. And I hope they don't go for some of the, like a kind of cheap twist ending. We were dead the whole time.
Right. It was all a dream.
Exactly.
I'm still on Mars. You know what? I'll buy it, but 100 and what's it?
120.
120. Jennifer is 30 and Pratt is 12 of that 120. So that's 42 million right there for those two actors. So I guarantee you're probably going to just see them for half the movie on a green screen, like pondering their, their nasals, or whatever. Like,
but this also, it could be a passion project for them where they're willing to reduce their take or whatever.
No. That's definitely not a passion. She's also making 30% of the gross after they recoup. So believe me, it's not a passion. It's a money project. But I buy it because I think it sounds really interesting. Imagine if you were Jennifer Lawrence and you were like, you picked me to wake up and hang out with you. He's like, well, you are the prettiest girl. I mean, why did he pick her? And I mean, out of the thousands of sleeping people, like that's probably what the story is. It's not just because she was the hottest
it's pretty
one.
obvious.
Do you think it really is?
Yeah, why he picked her.
Look, I like everybody on this panel. If we're all in cryogenic sleep, I'm not waking either one of you guys up.
Bam.
Okay, on to the next question.
All right. Legendary Pictures has released 4 new character posters for the upcoming Guillermo del Toro gothic horror film, Crimson Peak. The posters feature Tom Hiddleston, Jessica Chastain, Mia Wasikowska, and Charlie Hunnam. Crimson Peak opens in AMC theaters everywhere on October 16th. Dennis, do you buy or sell the posters?
I buy them, not by much. I'm not a fan too much of character posters in general. They're usually very plain and they just show one character. I mean, these are okay. If Guillermo del Toro's name wasn't attached to this, I already knew that he was doing this Crimson Peak movie. I don't know if I would take a second look at them, but I like the trailers. I like what I've seen, so I'm going to buy them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to sell them because I actually liked the original poster that they came out with. It's very beautiful. It had like a Dario Argento, like super deep colors. This one it's really all the characters look great. It's very well put together. I'm not a big I'm not a big fan of solo character posters. I just want to see the movie. I don't need to see these character posters. So
I got to sell these posters. I'm really disappointed because when I heard about Crimson Peak, I was so excited that Del Toro was doing a horror movie in a haunted house. This sounds awesome. The cast sounds fantastic. I'm not that sold on the trailers yet because the film just doesn't look that scary to me, and it kind of looks like that movie, The Haunting. The remake of The Haunting.
Ooh,
it was just so
it can't be
bad.
that bad.
But I mean, it's got effects, but it never actually scares you at all. I haven't been sold on anything with this project yet. These posters, they don't look terrible, but it almost looks like if you went to Hot Topic and bought a game of Clue. That's what it's just. Oh, here's the characters. Okay, and so this guy's giving this look because maybe we don't trust him yet. We definitely trust Maya. We're not sure about Hiddleston. If I'm a moviegoer and I'm walking out of the theater for whatever I saw and I see these posters, it's not getting me into the theater. Now, the name Crimson Peak and the fact that Del Toro doing it are going to make me want to see it, regardless of what I think of the trailers. But these posters just didn't do it for me.
But did you see the original poster that released, like I guess a couple weeks ago, or it's just like kind of her floating in front of this big castle?
I'd buy that more than I would buy
because it's really beautiful. These just
yeah, but that's what happens with character posters, right? There's so much a limit of what you can actually do.
Right.
All right, what's next?
According to The Wrap, Fox's remake for Murder on the Orient Express has found a new director in Kenneth Branagh. The movie is based on the classic Agatha Christie murder mystery written in 1934 and has been adapted for both the big and small screens multiple times. The story revolves around Detective Hercule Poirot that investigates the murder of an American business tycoon on a train. No word yet on who will be starring in the film. Schnepp, do you buy or sell Branagh directing Murder on the Orient Express?
I totally buy it. I love Kenneth Branagh's work ever since I saw him in like Hamlet, and he's like a really good director. He's been in so many different things. He's a great actor. He's been in Woody Allen movies. He played Frankenstein. I mean, he can run the gamut, and don't forget he directed Thor. So for me, I'm really excited to see him do something with the character. I can never pronounce it correctly. Hercules Poirot. Or however you say it. It's like a cat. It's like a cat. But anyway, he's got a lot of episodes that you could see on PBS. There was a whole series that I used to watch when I was a little kid, and I really enjoyed it. So I can't wait to see this new version of the Orient Express.
Mark?
Yeah, I buy. Are we still buying stuff?
Yes.
Because I'm buying this. Because Kenneth Branagh, like you said, he cares about his source material, whether it's adapting Shakespeare or a comic book or anything in between. You give him something like this Agatha Christie classic, he's going to treat the source material with respect. He might, I don't know if this is going to be a more modern spin on it, or if it's going to take place in the 30s, what the time period is, doesn't really matter. This is such a cool premise to me, and the fact that he's doing it, and it's somebody that will treat the original with respect and not try to make too many changes to it, I'm in.
It's a big buy for me. When I was younger, I was a huge fan of Agatha Christie. I read a lot of her books, and they've adapted a lot of her material already. And having Kenneth Branagh do it is a great fit, because even though he hasn't done a murder mystery per se, but the theatricality that he does with like Shakespeare, and even that he brought to Thor or Cinderella, I think would fit well with this movie. And I think murder mysteries in general is a genre I wish they would explore more.
Sure.
I hope it is set in the 1930s, though. I don't know if I need to see a modern version
I agree.
of this.
I would love it to be in the 30s, and that's when the Orient Express was at its peak.
Yeah.
People still ride that, but not as much more. Like, let's get on a train as like a weird type of fun.
Well, they're not going to get on the train anymore because there's a lot of murders on the train. So
that's right.
We don't want that. I just hope it doesn't take place in the 70s and they put Bob O'Reilly in the trailer. We don't need that.
Oh, all right. On to Mailbag. We answer your viewer submitted questions. Just email it at us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com, and we'll pick out a few every day. Sinead, what do we got?
Jeff writes, hello, AMC. Why are there so many celebrities doing voiceover work in animated movies? Does anyone really go to see an animated movie because a celebrity was cast? I'm not saying that celebrities can't do good jobs or are the best fit for many roles, but do we need to have a major celebrity in every animated movie? Seems like a waste of money when a perfectly talented voice actor would work for most movies.
They do it for promotion purposes. Yes, voice. There's plenty of talented voice actors out there that aren't big famous celebrities, but they do it so they can attach their name and their face to a movie, even if they don't get seen in the actual movie. And then it's also a big part of what actors get paid to do besides their performance is promotion. So doing the press junkets, the red carpets, going on Entertainment Tonight or any other kind of outlet to promote their movie is part of why they're getting paid. I mean, I hate to break it to you guys, but a lot of the actors don't like doing those press junkets. They don't like doing all the promotion they have to do for movies, but they do it because they get paid the big bucks. Shep, what's your take?
I was going to say, remember Bob Chimbliss? Because he was that guy in Smurfs. Remember him? Of course you don't, because no one knows who Bob Chimbliss is. If I said Katy Perry, you'd be like, oh, yeah, she's in Smurfs. I didn't even see Smurfs, and I know that she was in it, or the Smurfs sequel or whatever. But that's what it is. It's not selling the animated movie to kids. It's selling the animated movie to the adults and the family members who are going to bring the children. So that's That's why they do the stars, because it's like it's so much fun to hear all those other actors who are in that movie. I love the shows that they're in or the movies that they're in, and they're going to be in this movie. So it's like it doesn't really even matter anymore. As long as you like top load the top like 5 or 6 people with celebrities, then you can get a lot of other people to fill in the cracks, so to speak.
Yeah, when there's so much competition to get box office dollars, you can have a movie like SpongeBob where that's going to sell itself, where Tom Kenny's the voice of SpongeBob.
Right.
He's one of the best voiceover actors that ever lived, and you don't know who he is. So when you, like you said, Dennis, when you bring him to the press junket, a lot of people aren't going to know who that guy is. So people who are just casual fans of movies aren't going to see him talking about it, be like, oh, I need to go see this movie. But in the early 90s, when Disney started doing this, when they put Robin Williams as the voice of the genie, everybody was like, I need to see this movie because I need to see what this comedic mastermind is going to do with this role where he gets to pretty much be Robin Williams in a blue animated form. From that, it just spawned every movie now has to have a few big names because you're right, it just helps sell the movie better.
Right. Well, Tom Kenny is still Binky the Clown to me, guys, from Shakes the Clown.
Kids!
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can't even tell. I remember I didn't see this movie, but I watched the trailer, the Yogi Bear movie, and Justin Timberlake's he does the voice for Boo Boo. Can't tell it's him at all, and they just wanted his name and to attach it to make it look like, oh, this is a hip thing.
Right, and then they realized nobody wants to see Yogi Bear.
Yes.
So it's like, it doesn't matter who you got to play Yogi Bear. No one's going to that park.
And which movie do you think kind of did it? Was it Shrek? What movie was the one that Hollywood saw and was like, oh yeah, if you add famous people to it, now we can just get a casual audience.
Well, I mean, I said Aladdin because after Aladdin, you had The Lion King, which had some famous voices.
Right.
You had, Matthew Broderick and James Earl Jones and Whoopi Goldberg and Jeremy Irons. Before that, you had Beauty and the Beast. And I can't put my finger on any big. Angela Lansbury from Murder, She Wrote was in it, but I think since Aladdin, it's been more of an advent towards the things like Shrek or like Inside Out. One of the fun things to do in a movie, though, and sometimes it just drives you mad, is me and Christian were both trying to get who is doing the voice in Inside Out in one of the other characters, and it ended up being Richard Kind, who's a great TV actor. He's a veteran screen presence. He does a lot of voiceover, but you know this voice, and you know it so well, and you just can't quite put your finger on who it is. It's fun. And it'll drive you insane.
I play that game when I watch TV for commercials because you got 30 seconds to figure out whose voice it is, and it's always like someone like a John Hamm or Bryan Cranston or even what's his name?
Clooney can sell me some Budweiser.
Yeah, like it's all because you recognize that voice,
right?
But you just can't figure out who it is.
Yeah, being a recognizer is a tough business.
Yes.
I was like, I have nothing else to say.
All right, what's next?
Nimi writes, hello, AMC. Greetings from London. This is my first time sending in a question, actually. My question is in regards to Oscar-winning performances generally being considered for roles that may not necessarily be deemed the norm by society, such as Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker's sadistic and twisted personality, or Eddie Redmayne's portrayal of Stephen Hawking and how he grew up and developed into his current condition. Do you think that actors are more likely to be considered for an Oscar nom or any other prestigious award if they take on a role that requires them to step out of the ordinary? Perhaps it is because we get to see their acting abilities stretched to the end of the spectrum. Thank you guys and keep up the fantastic work.
Well, Schnepp, take this first because I know you're pretty passionate about this subject.
Well, I don't know if I'm that passionate about it, but I think when actors take on roles that push them into different, that's not a normal thing. Like we've seen a lot of actors and actresses win time and time again for not playing just like I'm like Charlize Theron. I'm not this pretty girl or this, but she actually pushed herself into not just because she put on some ugly makeup or whatever, but she actually became a monster murdering serial killer in that movie Monster, and she won an Oscar. Posthumously, Heath Ledger won for becoming this creepy villain. So I mean, not just being a bad guy or a deformed creature, but if you're able to push it and actually people believe you, that's the other part, is like believing that this actor is this other person. I mean, I think that's like why Eddie Redmayne won over Michael Keaton. I think it's because you believed as he slowly lost his ability to move and became who Stephen Hawking is. You saw it over time, and it was like, it's a sad thing, and you believed it. So.
But don't you find that the Academy and the Oscars in general nominate performances that fit? Sometimes you can predict, like whether they're doing like a a performance where you're talking about transformation of some sorts, where it's a much more showy performance versus a nuanced one. I mean, I always get reminded when the question like this comes up. Two things. Have you guys ever watched Ricky Gervais's Extras?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's that scene with her, with them and Kate Winslet, where they're, oh, you're so great for doing this movie about the Holocaust. And of course, it's a joke. So she's like, oh, no, I'm doing it so I can win an Oscar.
Right.
And what was hilarious about that is she actually ended up winning an Oscar for a movie about the Holocaust.
The Reader, I think it was.
Yeah,
Right.
right,
yeah.
yeah.
And then the other one is with Tropic Thunder, that scene with Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr.,
Right.
which, to quote the movie, is like, never go full retard. You know?
Right.
It's like one of those things where the Academy seems to be predictable in terms of nominating certain performances, like whether it's you're playing a real life person, a disabled person, or what we're talking about, like a pretty girl uglying herself up.
Right.
I mean, what do you think about that, Mark?
That's the thing. I mean, if you get a disease in a movie, then you have a better chance of winning an Oscar, and actors and actresses know that. I think that they seek out those roles every so often. Sometimes they just want the challenge of doing it. I think that Double D Lewis really enjoys being Lincoln for a few months and not using his cell phone. And it's more often that you have an extreme type of character like that get nominated or win than just a normal guy who has some bad circumstances happen to him, or interesting circumstances. I mean, Dustin Hoffman won for Kramer versus Kramer. That's a dad going through a divorce. So that's more normal. Sean Penn won for Mystic River, where it was, just a guy who had some really bad stuff happen to him. But then Sean Penn also won for playing Harvey Milk.
Yeah.
So that's a different set of circumstances, right? So I think that the way in Hollywood now is like, if you take on a role where you have to do something extreme, some sort of transformation, or you're already inhabiting a body that is different than most people, you have a better chance of winning because we know what you went through to push yourself to that limit, so you have a better chance of getting a statue.
And then Hoffman, didn't he win for Rain Man as well?
He did, yeah.
Which is a different, type of character.
Which might have been referenced in that Tropic Thunder speech.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
yes. All right, what's next?
Samuel writes, I feel like no matter how bad a movie is, a fight scene has potential to make it enjoyable. What do you guys think is the best fight scene of any movie? My picks are the Obi-Wan versus Anakin fight in Star Wars 3, the Superman versus Zod fight in Man of Steel, and the hotel fight scene from Inception.
Mark, what are your favorite fight
Ooh,
scenes?
I love this question. When I think of iconic fight scenes, the one that sticks out in my mind is obviously going to be Luke versus Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, because you get their shadow and you just get the red and the blue lightsaber. But if you want to talk about some real fight scenes, let's get down to it. Eventually, history will remember these fight scenes as either PR or AR, which is pre-raid or after raid.
Yes.
Because those movies are just one giant fight scene that are so technically perfect to watch. It's incredible. I'd go all the way back to Enter the Dragon, which is Bruce Lee versus the evil Han. That's a pretty sweet fight scene. Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson versus Gary Busey on the lawn. Crazy versus Crazy. One of my personal favorites is Die Hard, is John McClane versus Alexander Goodenough, when they have that incredible fight scene, the dude with the long blonde hair, and they're just beating the crap out of each other forever. That's one of the ones that I always go back to and watch. It's just a brutal fight scene. Two dudes just clinging to survival. Those are my favorite kinds.
I would add Donnie Yen in Ip Man. And it's actually the guy who trained Bruce Lee, and it's a story about his actual, the origin of the guy who came up with his fighting style and his fight, like in real life against, I believe it's Chinese versus Japanese. It's really crushing, and the fighting styles that they go through. There's group fights, there's individual fights, and I think that movie itself is a beautiful film. I would definitely also say The Raid, and for me, The Raid 2 topped The Raid in that. Not only did it have,
and it was like an extra hour of fight.
It had one of the most incredible fight scenes inside of moving cars that I've ever seen in my life, and it's like so frenetic. I mean, so for me, those are the two that come right.
The prison scene too.
The
prison
scene
yard
for
Raid 2.
Incredible.
And then speaking of Bruce Lee, the fight that he has with Chuck Norris at the end of Enter the Dragon, which I guess was called
Tears that hair off his chest.
Yeah, which was called Way of the Dragon. The Kill Bill Volume 1 scene with the bride fighting the Crazy 88, Go-Go, Oren Ishii. And then you're speaking of kind of more martial arts films, we have Drunken Master 2 with Jackie Chan.
Drunken Man, thank you for mentioning that, because that end fight with that guy with the one leg that he can just do that. He looks almost like Clark Kent. He's like wearing the glasses and he keeps doing that stuff with his leg. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, the end sequence of Once Upon a Time in China with Jet Li with the ladder sequence is awesome. I'm trying to think of what else.
If you want some movies that aren't great but have some cool fight scenes in them, Safe with Jason Statham might be my favorite Jason Statham actually kicking in a movie scene, even though Jason Statham has been in better movies. Bruce Lee's kid, Brandon Lee, before he was in The Crow, was in a movie that's not great called Rapid Fire.
I remember
There's
that.
some really neat fight scenes in Rapid Fire, and because all people love these fight scenes so much, it's ripe to be spoofed, which is done brilliantly on Family Guy when Peter and the chicken fight each other, and they just have these 10-minute breaks where it's just them beating the crap out of each other. That has nothing to do with the rest of the series. It's so funny.
You know what's a fun film? You mentioned Statham, Crank and Crank 2, High Voltage. Watch both of those back to back, and that's like there's really cool choreographed fight scenes, but just as an action film from beginning to end, I think that's a really fun film.
Born Ultimatum, the scene where he's chasing the guy on the rooftop.
Oh my
and
God!
then
They
jumps
jump
through the window.
through
and
the
they fight.
window.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's very impactful too. The way it's shot, really every punch you felt. That's a good one. Definitely.
Sinead, do you have any fight scenes that are memorable to you? That you,
well, I mean, a lot of the movies that you guys just listed, I sadly have not seen. So I have to think like recently. I really like fight scenes that are kind of like cheesy and over the top. So I think of like the ones that almost like you laugh when they're over because you're like, so I think of like Django at the end. And then also, yeah, because I like the over the top, like, I don't know. I get really freaked out and it's really intense. I almost like when it's a little like, this is supposed to be absolutely ridiculous. I've seen all the Bourne movies like 54 billion times. So I love all of those. And then I just saw obviously like John Wick last year.
Oh, yeah.
I also liked a lot of that stuff because it was again, like so over the top.
Right, dome shots. It was like Gun Kata or whatever
Yeah,
from
it
that
was
Equilibrium
ridiculous.
movie. They were like, yeah, bring that back in. That,
Well, over the top movies, Kick-Ass has some great fight
Yeah.
sequences.
Yeah.
One I can't believe I forgot, Terminator 2, the end sequence when the T-1000 fights Sarah Connor and Arnold, the T-800. That's a pretty, I mean, it's James Cameron.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that didn't happen in that fight scene was somebody's throat getting ripped out. Don't worry. We took care of that in Roadhouse.
All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I want to thank the guys joining us on the panel today. Schnepp, where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. Please go to www.tdoslwh.com. You can pre-order my film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, or you could just come to San Diego Comic-Con and see me in person at booth 3915.
And Mark, where can people find you?
Online at 5150L is Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to my movie show, Schmoes Know, on YouTube. And if you're in Southern California tonight, I'll be at the Comedy Store. Let's hang out and talk peanuts.
And Sinead?
I am on all social media and YouTube at Sinead DeFries and at thatsocianead.com. Tonight I'll be hanging out at Harvard and Stone. Tomorrow night.
Bam!
Right down the street from the Comedy Store.
Just don't wear printed t-shirts.
You
Or
can catch
curly
me at
mustaches.
the local bar. You can come say hi. We'll talk peanuts.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzng, or on YouTube, Think Hero Pro. And remember to subscribe to the AMC Theaters YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/AMC Theaters.